Hi, good evening. I would like to welcome you all to my second episode of the Oscar Real Talk podcast on Anchor. I hope you enjoy the show today because we have a packed show. I'm going to be talking about Washington's clinching scenarios, rumors regarding the team, Dwayne Haskins, and for Real Madrid topics, I will be talking about Real Madrid's performances this month, closing out 2020. Any transfer window rumors, and so much more. So I hope that you enjoy the show and buckle in because it's gonna be a long ride. Thank you very much, and here we go. So let's kick off today's episode of the Real Talk podcast with Washington, and I'm just gonna get the easy stuff out of the way. NFC East is on the line this week, guys, and let's review what's been going down, how Washington was able to get into this position, what my thoughts are regarding Washington contending in the title. Did I think that they were gonna be in the title race, heading into week 16, week 17? So, if you didn't listen to my first episode on Anchor, I suggest you highly do so because I break down what my thoughts were on the schedule. And I'll briefly review it here. They beat the Philadelphia. They come back from 17 down against Philadelphia. Dwayne Haskins leads that team back, wins it 27-17. However, Dwayne Haskins, is unable to back up those performances. Has some bad performances in the Cardinals game, Browns game. Played okay, but didn't do enough to secure his job in the Ravens game, and he was benched. Enter, as they say in acting, enter Kyle Allen. In the Rams game, he gets injured. Enter Alex Smith, and he was very rusty. But it was nice to see him back onto the field after that gruesome leg injury 2 years ago. But, because of his rust, and because Washington was behind like 3 scores, there was just no way that Washington was going to come back, especially with Alex Smith, who was a check down quarterback. So, Washington goes 1-4 there. Lose a heartbreaker to the Giants after, Kyle Allen, fumbled the football, threw an interception, and then the infamous 2-point conversion that Ron Rivera went for instead of going for the extra point. So they go to 1-5 against the Giants. They demolish the Dallas Cowboys. Jason, if you're listening to this, you're welcome. Jason Alamio, political podcast, a good friend of mine. So then they have the return match against the Giants. Kyle Allen goes down injured yet again with a broken ankle, I think it was. I can't remember if it was a broken ankle or dislocated ankle, but Alex Smith makes it a game, although he did throw 3 interceptions. So Washington ends up losing another heartbreaker to the Giants because of those 5 turnovers as well. Then they fall behind against Detroit, come back to tie it. Detroit takes trying to take it into overtime. However, Chase Young has a bad penalty called on him for getting the Lions into field goal range. They lose there, but then this is when the winning streak starts. They beat Cincinnati. They weren't able to contain Joe Burrow, but after Joe Burrow went down with a really bad injury, they were able to, come back and finish the game off. Then they beat Dallas on Thanksgiving. They beat and upset the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers at the time to get them to 5-7. They beat San Francisco in a defensive battle because the defense was our offense that day. And then, of course, they lose a close one to the Seattle Seahawks this weekend. So that puts us at 6-8, still in contention with the division. Now, everyone was saying that the Cowboys and the Eagles were going to be the top teams in contention. And right now, the NFC East, all teams are still in contention. However, the ones that have the realistic shot would be the Giants. Now, how the Giants could make the playoffs, they would just need to make sure that Washington loses out and they win out. However, that's going to be hard to do with the Ravens on the schedule and the Cowboys on the schedule. And Washington has the Panthers and then the Eagles, who made a quarterback change with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles, funny enough, they just need to win out themselves. If they win out, the Giants and the Washington team lose out, they would have the better record at 7-8-1. They would make the division, or they would win the division and go on to the playoffs. So those are the scenarios. Washington, however, to make sure that they get a playoff berth is this. They beat the Panthers and the Giants lose to the Ravens. Washington. This is the scenario that I gave in the Champions League matchup when Real Madrid was taking on Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now, Washington has I don't want to say advantage, but Washington can scoreboard watch at the beginning can scoreboard watch that game, because the Giants game is still at 1 p.m. And then the Washington game against the Panthers, guys, I forgot to make an announcement yesterday that they flexed the Panthers game at 4:05 p.m. So we will be having the 4 o'clock game instead of the 1 o'clock game. They flexed that on Sunday, or they flexed that yesterday, and they will. So Sunday's game will be on Sunday. So Washington can scoreboard watch up to a certain point. Hope that the Giants, the Ravens, can beat the Giants, and then all Washington would need to do is win, and they will be in the playoffs. So simple as that. It's simple as that. However, Washington takes on Panthers, a very feisty Panthers team. Don't let the record fool you. I've watched Panthers game. They love to fight, especially with their new coach. So that this by no means is going to be an easy game. The Panthers love to run the football and love to throw to DJ Moore. So Washington needs to find a way to shut down that run game, because their run game was terrible this past weekend against the Seahawks, allowing 150 yards plus on the ground game, because Russell Wilson only threw for 121 yards, but their run game, stopping the run, was the biggest problem for Washington. So they allowed Carlos Hyde to get a 50-yard run for a touchdown, and then they allowed Russell Wilson on a 3rd and long to get 38 yards. So that is something that cannot happen with the Panthers team, because here's the thing. Washington would love to win this division right here this week instead of waiting for chips to fall in week 17. So that are the scenarios for Washington. Next up, guys, let's talk about Dwayne Haskins and what went down this week for Washington and Dwayne Haskins, along with Dan Snyder as well, because there are reports coming out of Dan Snyder as well. So let's get into that here.